Deputy Owen Murphy.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mr. McNally. You're very welcome. Earlier today, you spoke about challenging the Minister on different areas of policy or different proposals that were being put forward because you disagreed with them. Is that correct? You would disagree with the idea or the policy that was being proposed? So
we put forward, if there was a proposal, we'd analyse it and give the reasons for and against. And it wasn't challenging the Minister, it was just trying to advise the Minister as best we could.
But would you come down on a certain, would you favour a certain advice? I mean, for example, you talked about the SSIA, and you talked about the holiday resort tax release, and you not being in favour of them. So would the department analyse the proposal and come back and say, we think X and Y, but we're in favour of X?
But we would have, well, the memorandum would have set out pros and cons, but I think it would have been clear from the pros and cons where the department's feelings were.
And in those two instances, you think it was clear from the memo where the department's feelings were, and they were against those two schemes? Well,
yes, I think so, because we were expressing doubt over whether this would incentivise savings.
Well, what are the proposals that came from the ministers you served under? Would memos have come back where the emphasis was clearly on the con side?
Well, the memo set out the options, and reading the pros and cons, you'd be able to get a good idea of where the department's view lay. Okay, so it was up to the Minister to make the decision.
So what are the proposals that came from the ministers that you worked for the department basically disagree with?
Well, the SSIA one is just the only one I can think at the moment. The rural renewal, we would have expressed some doubts as to the generosity of the reliefs.
What about decentralisation?
I wasn't involved in the decentralisation. I don't know what advice was given in that regard.
What about tax policies like halving CGT?
Well, we would have taken the view that there would have been a cost, and telling the story against myself, but I estimated that the cut in CGT would cost something like £19 million, but over the next 4 or 5 years the revenue increased by tenfold. So there was obviously a behavioural change. People used the lower rate to cash in.
Okay.
So I mean, I wouldn't say we opposed the cut. We pointed out the consequences there might be, which in my case it was wrong, plain and simple.
And so following something like that where the department provides advices and they prove to be incorrect, and I suppose in that case it's dramatically incorrect, do you think then that has an effect on the way those advices are then treated or regarded going into future budgets?
I don't think so. I don't think the Minister discounted the advice, but he always said that it's up to us to propose and him to decide.
Okay. And so, again, in terms of this culture of, I suppose robust culture of challenging the Minister on different ideas or different proposals and writing memos, did you ever do this work in relation to what was happening in the property sector and the housing boom and what contribution that was making to the economy?
I don't recall having input on that.
Right. Well, so one of the pieces of evidence we've heard about in previous sessions in relation to Morgan Kelly's work and how he published an article on a potential house price bubble in the Irish Times at the end of 2006 and later published a report on the same theme as part of the SRI's quarterly bulletin in the summer of 2007. So when outside people were having an impact on the debate in that way, what was happening in the department at the official level in terms of analysing that advice and considering whether or not to take it to government?
We would have analysed the advice and looked at what the OECD had said in 1986, where they felt that a soft landing was the likely outcome, but a hard landing couldn't be ruled out.
So this is written in 2006 and 2007, and you went back to work from the OECD from 1996. Is that?
No, 2006.
2006. Okay. Yes. So you would have given serious consideration to it. To Morgan Kelly's work at the time.
It would have been looked at, yes.
Okay. And then when we look at things like the pre-budget letters coming in from the central bank, I mean, how much consideration would have been given to them? Because in the pre-budget letter from 2000, towards the end of 2000, looking ahead to 2001, it warned of a hard landing. It drew attention to the commercial price rise in property, to residential price rise in property, to overheating in the economy. and it talked about a risk of a hard landing. So,
I don't remember this particular letter, sorry.
okay, well, we have it in evidence, but you don't recall anyone going back, say, instead to a central bank pre-budget letter to look for, to test against what Morgan Kelly was saying?
Not as far as I recall.
No, okay. In the Nyberg report on the banking crisis, he states that there was in general a pervasive pressure for consensus and conformity of views across institutions. And one of the reasons was to adopt specific policies and accepted practices that later proved unsound. So in your opinion, was there a pressure in the Department of Finance in the years up to 2006, this pervasive pressure for consensus?
I don't think there was a pervasive pressure for consensus. I think that was the view. It wasn't forced on people. That was the view that was taken, having analysed the economic data.
Okay. So you didn't feel like that there was a culture or a political pressure at work within the department? Okay.
No, there wasn't. I mean, ministers didn't get involved in economic projections. There wasn't any political input of that sort.
Can you comment on what changes, if any, occurred with the change in ministers in 2004 in the workings of the department?
I don't think there was any real change in the workings of the department. The process continued as before. I mean, the main change that was made was the abolition of the tax reliefs, and as far as I was concerned.
But in relation, in terms of practices, preparations for the budgetary process, was there any change in how that went?
No, it would have continued the same as far as I mean, there are things that have to be done. The estimates settled, the decisions made on tax policy. I mean, it follows a particular course. There's a schedule of things and when decisions have to be made, which is normal. I presume the same happens now.
But the department continued to play the central role that it had played up to 2004, after 2004?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Okay. Just the final question I wanted to ask was in relation to lessons for the future. You spoke about it prudent being not spending all your tax receipts in a given year. So I was just wondering what the current thinking is in relation to when you have a surplus. Is it to run a surplus? Is it to direct a surplus into some sort of fund like a pension reserve fund, or is it to pay off the debt? I mean, what would be the prudent thing looking forward?
Well, at the moment, I think we're still trying to make the 3% deficit, so the surplus may be a bit off. But I would think that the main recommendation of the department would be to use the surplus to run down the debt, because that's a burden on the people, which if interest rates rise, will absorb more of the tax revenue. That's what I imagine. I haven't asked in the department what the priority is, but that would be my sense of it.
Okay.
That's what I'd be recommending in any way, to use the resources to get down the debt, or to find some way of minimising the debt.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.